Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Average J's podcast. My name is Jay Justin Ruiz.
My name is Jeremy Francois J. Oh no, that was bad. My name is Jeremy Francois.
So, if you want to see all that beautiful intro goodness in real time, in a real place, you can come watch us live on twitch.tv/The Average J's every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? And
you got it.
I'm not an idiot. I know it's 10 after 9, but we had some very significant technical issues that we were able to fix. So, yay.
We are the technical people to fix that. Well, Justin is actually. He is the technical person.
Yeah, I'm our IT crew. So, we were able to fix it.
He yelled at himself all the time.
We're able to fix it, and now we are live like we always are. So, today is, what's today? Something.
Today is the 10th of January.
January 10th in the year of our Lord, 2023. Don't forget to write it because it's no longer 2022. So we are going to jump right in. We have a lot of news this week. News just wouldn't stop happening.
A plethora.
A plethora. So,
plenty.
Right off the bat, returning Average J's Saga, I guess. Saga's probably better.
We have sagas. We have arcs. Or we can call it an arc for him. It's an arc.
All right, it's an arc. So Ezra Miller back in the news this week, reportedly DC, technically WB in general, will be willing to move forward with Ezra Miller as the Flash. So some sources have told Variety that Warner Brothers Discovery executives are still willing, according to the report, the fact that Miller has stayed out of trouble since they began mental health treatment last summer has reopened the door to Miller appearing as the Flash. Now, I'm happy he's getting the support that he needs, and I'm happy that things are looking better, but I do not think this that this is enough for him to return, at least not yet. I think that it's honestly too soon, and it actually might hurt the movie, in my opinion, if he returns.
You mean after the movie or the movie? You mean like marketing wise, like PR wise, is gonna hurt the movie?
Yeah, like I think it'll hurt like whatchamacallit, like viewing, like people that are coming in, like attendance. I think that him staying on this project. I mean, again, we don't know when the next Flash movie is still slated to come our way this year, but after that, we don't know what his next quote unquote appearance would be.
So you mean for him to come back as the Flash?
Yeah, because that's what they're saying. They're saying because he's getting the help that he needs, because he is staying out of trouble, this is a good thing, and that's fantastic. I am very happy that Ezra Miller is getting the treatment that they need. Actually, I keep saying he, and I think his pronouns are they, so I'm just gonna go back to they.
Oh, did not know that. Either that or I just forgot.
I'm almost positive, but Ezra Miller is getting the help need, and I just want like WB to kind of leave it alone. I don't know. One, I don't really like him as the Flash, so that's my own personal bias. But two, I think that they need to take a step back from Ezra Miller because of stuff that happened, and they need Ezra Miller to stay on the healthy track. I don't know if dumping him back into a octane filming process in the public eye is a great idea.
Nice choice of the words of high octane, because he does move fast. Or they move fast. We got to keep that consistent on here. I'll try to say his pronouns. But I'm going to stick to my guns from just on movies drop. When it comes to WB Discovery / DC news, I'm just going to wait. When I go off the comic books and the animated movies, Flash comes back after he messes up the timeline. He comes back and he's still the Flash. Obviously, it's animated in his comic books. You can make the Flash look the same. Mm-hmm. But now, speaking of actors, at this point, I'm just gonna wait till things drop. Now, I do agree that it seems a little soon to make these. Again, that was my problem before with these DC news. Is they keep saying, "Hey, we might do this, we might do that." There was a lot of if, ands, or buts, and it's like we thought we were gonna get Henry Cavill Superman, and we lost him. We thought we were gonna get, and then it's like I want to just see things. I just need. It's basically actions are louder than words. You keep saying you're gonna do this. Not a good look for WB in the past, and even it's when it was bought and merged and whatnot. I want to see proofs. I want to see Aquaman because it's still available. I want to see Flash. It's still available. We're gonna see Shazam. It's still available, and then I want to see James Gunn's world. That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying I don't care about the news. I'm happy that Ezra Miller is getting his help, but when it comes to like the nerd stuff, see the piece.
RIP to the Snyderverse, but yeah, no, I think we're pretty much on the same page here. Moving on, but sticking with WB and DC, it made headlines everywhere. This week.
Actually, I'm curious to know what you think.
That the Joker in within the comic book universe that's going on right now, Joker got pregnant. Joker, the Clown Prince of Crime, in the latest DC chapter this week, in the latest issue of Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, he got pregnant. So issue number 4 has Zatanna, everyone's favorite female magician, part of the Justice League sometimes. She casted one of her famous reverse spells, and she actually said, "No one else will ever have your baby." And when she said that, it triggered the Joker to have his own baby. So it comes out looking super weird, but Joker loves it.
It like morphs. It comes out like almost Clayface. I didn't read the comics. I stopped reading comics. Well, mainstream comics for a while. But I remember seeing the images of it, and he also have some qualms, especially from a feminist standpoint. And I'm sure they may say this could be in the verse of the interwebs if they decide to bring this up. I think first is just shock value. Starting with the title. With the title itself, it's just a recalling to The Man Who Laughs.
Yep. So
it's like, it's kind of like 0 Year, which again, great comic, 0 Year by Scott Snyder, but it reminds you of Year One. The death of a family, death in the family. It's just like, again, it was just shock value. That's just number 1. Second, Joker's pregnant. It's like, now I don't have a problem with him being pregnant. I used to love him as one of my favorite villains, but then ever since everyone hopped on the bandwagon since Dark Knight, I was just like, ugh. I don't know. I can't deal with that. But not my concern. I get this guilty pleasure of seeing the internet be in an uproar because he got pregnant. I think it's just funny because people are like, "Oh my god, why is Joker pregnant? Oh my god!" And it's like, it's a story. Just let it happen. So I'm not mad about this headline. About the shock value. Like they're just trying to get people's money. And it's like,
I found it super weird, and this was totally just to be a weird comic book thing, and it got picked up and ran everywhere. In the panels, just quick spoiler alert. I mean, should have said it at the top, but he vomits up like a blob of like mud, and then that mud kind of like morphs into a tiny Joker, like doppelganger type deal.
So my thing is, so my beef with that is, if in general in our life, women are like, "Oh yeah, how about you get pregnant and you bring it out of your vagina?" Obviously, scientifically, we can't do that. I think this would have proved up. Right. This could have not proved the point, but they could have had Joker go through this pain. Why spare him this pain from all the bad, evil, nonsensical things he's done? Shouldn't he have gone through that pain? Unless, again, I didn't read the comic. He hired this villain who's radioactive as hell. I don't know why. To do the surgery, do the procedure. I don't know, did he do something to reverse him and have him throw up the baby, the Joker baby? Or was the magic supposed to just do that? But I think it was a MMO, in my opinion, to do something for, I guess, not do something, but to showcase that I'm gonna try and give birth and go through that pain.
Mhm.
Obviously, the comment was they can bring the Joker back, they can heal him up, but have him go through that pain of motherhood, of giving birth, rather.
So I don't know. This is like a. So I've been referencing IGN for this article, and the only thing that I'm seeing is that him and Zatanna have like a little confrontation. He flirts with
Mhm.
her, and then she casts a spell, and then later on he ends up, throwing up the this like
The blob
blob.
baby.
Yeah, this blob
Yeah,
thing.
that's why it looked Clayfacey, and then it
Yeah.
morphs into a baby Joker.
Yeah. Then it's just a mini clone of him. But yeah, this was all over the place, and I couldn't just let it go by because it was. I feel like in this day and age, like comic books, sometimes, like especially like the lesser known ones, they're known for doing like wacky, outrageous stuff, and this is just one of those things where I'm sure somebody pitched it, someone else laughed, and they put it in there, and then it ended up blowing up on the internet. But it's
Yeah.
definitely a very weird turn. But
I wonder if there
all
was
press is
something.
good press.
Yeah, true. I wonder, like, comic books in general. I think it lost its. When it comes to the mainstream, they're not doing what they used to do, where it's trying to say something, unless it's like a lesson or like, for example, Batman or Urban Legends, where they have these little tales, like the one that I bought of Renee Montoya. So she talks about like how they're dirty cops and whatnot, or cops that are ignorant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's saying something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is just nothing.
This is part of the main storyline of, I guess, the Joker or whatever, and it's just to, again, cash grab. And there's nothing wrong with cash grabbing, but I think you can do something with, I don't know. That's just me. That's me trying to be a little pretentious about it, but then
you want it to actually have a meaning and a purpose.
Yeah, like I'm wondering, like,
unfortunately,
okay, it could be. I guess this, and things don't have to make sense. It could just have been funny to me. I thought it was just cash grab, and again, there was a missed opportunity to just give the Joker like this pain. Like Joker's not fearful of death, right? So why not give him a pain that's excruciating? You know, he's not afraid of Batman either. So why not give him something like this? Would have been an opportunity to do. Even it didn't have to have a commentary on our social reality. It could have been like give something that the Joker could be fearful of. Yeah. What Joker's barely afraid of anything.
No, you're not wrong. But yeah, I think you're kind of yearning for it to have more of a purpose, and this is not. It was made to just be a fart in the wind. This was just something that they thought was funny, and they popped it out without giving any real consideration to growing the character or having it have any weight. But I mean, I kind of mimic what you want. Like I would have liked to see it be more of a like, more of like a real thing. But I get it. Sometimes people gotta be.
It's literally as you said it. I think it's perfect fart in the wind, which unfortunately I feel bad for the person who gets and receives that fart. I can imagine you're just at the under end of the block and you're just like, oh my God.
Well,
that's probably what that was to me in this story.
Yeah, probably. Well, sticking with the theme of affronts to nature, a robot lawyer powered by artificial intelligence will be the first of its kind to help a defendant fight a traffic ticket in court next month. So this is something that broke. I'm referencing an article off of CBS News, but broke earlier in the week. There is an actual, it's not like a robot, it is an AI, and it runs on a smartphone. So this whole thing is it's an AI that specifically listens to arguments and then formulates responses. It's like that's all it does. And then the lawyer tells the defendant what to say in real time through headphones. Crazy.
It's too funny. I can see this turning into a thing. Is like, nope, you lied. That's it. I'm like, wait, what? Like, wait, how do you know that?
I mean, I can't believe that this is not going to be like. One, I can't believe this is allowed. But two, I this to me like kind of mimics of like that classic sitcom trope of like you have your best friend in the ear and you're going on a date and they're telling you what to say, but then they mess up the words and then you're like, oh, it's a lovely fart today, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can just imagine that being a thing. We've all seen AI things, and AI is extremely powerful, but you know, the whole craze with the AI art, they don't get everything right. You saw the fingers.
AI art and AI storytelling, which is wild to me.
So it's a thing, but they're not perfect. So I can't imagine the arguments that are actually going to happen. So
It's gonna be pulling, especially when this I guess thing evolves, and let's say it decides to, and that's my fear. It's a laughing stock to our justice system at this point, because it if it ever gets to the Supreme Court or whatever, it is going to be pulling information just like the art does. It's pulling people's art for free, which it shouldn't be doing, but it's pulling public lawyer documents and stuff, essays people read. It's just going to be pulling from the internet, literally what Ultron did in Age of Ultron.
well,
So at some point, if there's an AI that's advanced enough and smart enough, it will take something into its own hands. Depending on if I would rather an AI come to life and just teach me cooking, like, or just learn how to cook. Because if it learns anything and it doesn't like us, that's it. I'm boarding up my windows.
so anyone curious, this AI is called Do Not Pay.
Yes.
And like we were kind of saying, it isn't legal in most courtrooms, just FYI. Most states will require that all parties consent to be recorded.
Yeah.
So that literally will wipe out a lot of different areas. But out of the 300 cases that they vetted in this I guess lead up to this actual case next month, out of the 300 cases considered for trial by the robot lawyer, only 2 were feasible. So they ended up picking this traffic ticket. Do Not Pay has raised over almost $28 million from like venture capital firms and stuff like that. And it seems like it's a pretty big deal in the artificial intelligence world, but man, this is such a crazy, again, another thing for like that shock value. And
Yep.
that's all it is right now. It's ratings, you know, but it's wow. I cannot believe that that's like a real thing that's happening.
That is surprising.
So moving on from that, Jay, you have one more topic before we get into like TV and movies, and I really am interested in this. So take it away.
It's not what you would think it is at first glance. Like, I thought it was like, okay, so what we're talking about, or what I brought to the table, is a new Alzheimer's drug.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, if for those listening, it's like, oh, nice, new drug pushing the boundaries. We're getting a cure. So it's not a cure; it's a treatment. So this is on NBC News, where I pulled this information from. And just to read the headline, and this is my first thought. So the headline goes, a new Alzheimer's drug will cost under $30,000 a year. That's basically tuition for college, maybe less than that. And then the question is, who will be able to get it? My first thought was like the rich. Not a lot of people can afford that.
No, this is early adopters only. Like,
yeah.
Normal people won't be able to actually like have this at their fingertips, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this was approved by the FDA. And again, it's like early tests. A lot of people that don't, I guess you can say, donated their body to be part of these clinical trials. Mm-hmm. I'm happy for the idea that we're moving forward with these, I guess, advancements in medicine. And again, this is early adoption. So like, this cost to me is very large. I can imagine when we finally get to the end goal of, like, I guess, curing this disease, how much would it cost? Would people be able to afford them? Like, at some point in my life, or me and Gabby's life, because she says that it runs in her family, like her grandma, I believe, had it. So it's like, when I'm old and we're both old, and then let's say, God forbid, she's going through that, would I be able to afford something like this at that point in time? So like, that's just like my fear. But just to talk about the drug specifically, there are signs that this is something that it's not all cure, so you have to take it periodically throughout the year. Um, but there are side effects, which is like it was very weird to say it out loud, but brain bleeding. I was like,
Well, yeah, like hemorrhaging
it's
your
like,
brain.
yeah, it's just I was just like, wow, okay. Um, yeah, what was it? Yeah, they mentioned a lot of, but that was like one of the main things that stuck out. Brain swelling, brain bleeding, dizziness, all vision problem. Like it's just a lot that builds up from these side effects. But um, I wish they spent more time on it. But then I guess it's just again, it's a test. You know,
Yeah.
it's sad to say, but humanity through time, when it's trying new things to help the future, we go through these trials. Back in the day, we used to open people's brains up just to figure out what was going on, and we don't do
Yeah.
that anymore to a certain degree. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that this is the first step to it being cheaper, more approachable, like down the road. Like there always
hopefully,
has to be like hopefully yes, there always has to be human trials, and typically it's reserved for people who are healthy enough to go through it, and this could be like their last resort, because
yeah,
it's the Alzheimer's have progressed so much.
yeah.
So
Because I've heard, and especially with other diseases like even HIV, certain cancers, like we've made some, like I would say in our lifetime, in the last 30 years, we've made leaps and bounds in 30 years. So
oh
that's
well,
like pretty
absolutely.
dope.
That's
So
because
I can imagine,
technology has
yeah.
advanced so much within the past 2 decades.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
I could imagine in our next 30 years what we would come up with. And I hope for the better. Like I've heard or read somewhere that our generation would last a little longer when it comes to age because of
hmm
our current medicine. I'm I want to say I am 75% sure we're not going to find the fountain of youth, but there'll probably be certain uh what's the word? Visceral? No, not visceral. Superficial things that keep us looking young.
Oh well, yeah, for
And
sure.
then, like, to me, the creams that we see on TV are not real. Those don't work. Those are just to make money. That's basically dirt on your face,
Okay.
my opinion. But anywho, I think this is dope that we're making progression on the Alzheimer's.
Yes. Speaking of, this is good. You got to stick with me for this one really quickly.
All right, I'm gonna
Speaking
connect the dot.
of swelled brains and big heads,
I got it.
Modoc, the machine for something something and something something of killing, has been revealed in the latest Ant-Man trailer. This broke between last night and this morning with the new trailer for Ant-Man. There had been some like picture leaks a couple months ago, as well as like there were some toy leaks that happened, but
Mm,
this was the first time that we actually got it confirmed by Marvel proper.
I did see
and
the
and on top of that, it is the I forgot his name, but it's the actor who played Yellow Jacket in the original Ant-Man movie. He
this.
has
I'll look it up for you.
transformed into Modoc. So we got to see two different versions of Modoc. We got one with like his kind of faceplate down. It looks a little more robotic. And
I
then
did see that.
we got one with his faceplate off, and you see the big stretched out face. Um
Darren Cross.
that guy.
That's him.
So I am I saw the leaks when they happened about a month or two ago, so I kind of figured this was the way it was gonna go. I'm happy that Modoc is in it because I think Marvel needs to start.
You're a Modoc fan in general too.
I like the design and I like the character himself. I always thought he was like this grubby little guy who's actually really powerful. Um,
Mm.
but I also like that I want Marvel to get weirder. Like now that they established things that work and don't, and like they're trying to put the envelope, trying to continue on with the MCU. There's room for Marvel to really get weird and get like crazy stuff happening. So a huge floating head with tiny limbs that
That
shoots.
is for the
Uh,
main peoples. That is weird.
yeah, a huge floating head with tiny limbs that shoots like a psi beam out of his forehead through like a crystal. I think that's pretty weird, and I like the direction it's going. The new trailer really highlighted what they're teeing up to be like the death of Ant-Man. You see like a shattered helmet and all that. So now, one thing I wanted to ask you, and before we move on to the next thing, I think this kind of hit, and I didn't watch this trailer. I've only seen stills because I'm trying to like adopt what you do, Jay, which is watch the the first full trailer and then try and go as radio silent as possible. Because nowadays trailers, especially for superhero stuff, they just reveal too much. So what's your take on this? Do you think that they're revealing too much with it, or are you okay with the inclusion and confirmation of MODOK?
Honestly, I can always, and many people can always spout this opinion for the longest time. And the thing is, what annoys me is, big companies say, yeah, we listen to the fans. But I'm like, are you really listening? Because you reveal too much. Both sides, DC and Marvel, they reveal too much. It would have been super dope if they just didn't mention or show MODOK. I can only assume they mentioned MODOK because of the leaks. I didn't see the toy. I saw there was like a toy thing, and I was like, oh, MODOK's in the movie. Like, that's how I knew. Then I saw the stills this morning. Didn't see the trailer. And it's gonna get those views no matter what. Personally, for me, after I guess maybe this phase, there's gonna be certain things I don't know about Marvel when it comes to the books. So then it's like, oh, I could probably watch this just to get it. Because like I remember from phase 1 going to phase 3, and phase 3, I had to stay away from it because you can pick up storylines that they're gonna pull from, even and possibly subvert it. So you're gonna just sit there and be like, oh, I knew that was gonna happen. When I saw the first full trailer, I was like, okay, cool, this is great. You got my man's Jonathan Majors in it. Now, I don't want to see anymore, because then that could either leak for Loki season 2. Like there's going to be things that happen there that I might be able to pick up, but also again, I just want to be surprised. I'm very good at picking up things, not just nerdy stuff, just in general, movies, TVs. I can see the end of the movie way before I get, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what I would have done too. So I just prefer to be surprised. I want to be a regular human in the theater or watching a TV show.
Yeah. So you can pick up the story beats basically.
Yeah. I remember just to like do a slight tangent, Free Guy.
Yeah.
I knew, and I'm sure a lot of people did, but maybe not a lot of Gabby didn't know, like the guy who was in Stranger Things. He was a bully, now he's a good guy. I'm forgetting his name. He has a nice hair.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, so that actor, he wrote the code in Free Guy that was telling, he was professing his love to the girl, and then when he finds that out, that's why he loves the girl. Do you remember? He was like, he wrote the code and loved the girl. Like, I knew that was him, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it was revealed, and I was like, oh, of course. But that's something I picked up. It was not like revealed in the movie, but I'm sure like if I watched the movie, if I watched the trailer over and over again, I probably would have picked that up.
Yeah.
But I think it's best for most people. If you agreed, let us know in the comments, or let us know if that's a good idea where you should just not watch the second trailer to a certain movie, especially superhero movies.
Yeah, I've been trying to adopt that. Like for the things that I'm interested, I've watched the first full trailer. So I watched, teaser 1 and 2 and then full trailer, and that's it. And I really try not watch anything else. But speaking of full trailers, we have another one to break down really quickly. And this took the internet by storm. Renfield is a new horror monster movie coming out, and it stars the titular Nicolas Cage as the famous Count Dracula. And it is like, it seems like it's a very, like the movie knows what it is. It's pretty self-aware. It has this kind of like comedic turn on the vampires and what's happening between.
It's like, it's funny. It reminds me of Warm Bodies, and also Nicholas Hoult is in it.
Yeah, he's the guy from Warm Bodies. So Nicholas Hoult is the main character, Renfield, and he is basically like the assistant to Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I thought he was a familiar, but doesn't look like he's a familiar.
No, he's like the assistant. He is a
He behaved
vampire.
like yeah.
He is a vampire, but maybe he's not turned all the way. Sometimes that's a thing in vampire
Yeah.
lore where like
In
they
the
just
trailer,
add.
he bites it. Well, quick question, real quick. Spiders have blood, right?
Yes,
Like,
they
because I
do.
know they're arachnids. So I'm just like, okay, so
Yeah.
because that's a different, like, they're
So
not insects.
I'll talk about that in a second. So
Okay.
what it looks like in the trailer, right? We actually see Nicholas Holt is Renfield, the main character. He's the assistant to Nicolas Cage, who is Dracula, and he basically brings him bodies to eat. And it seems like Renfield is trying to like feed him bad guys or like people who quote unquote deserve it, and
Yeah.
he's actively suppressing whatever vampire gene he has. He does have certain abilities, and they showcase them in the trailer, but it
Yeah.
doesn't kick in till he has a little bit of blood. So
Yeah.
clearly, he's like on a no blood diet. He's trying to be all trim and fit, but he like eats a quick little spider, like Jay was mentioning. Spiders do contain blood, and it gave him a nice little like quick boost so he could do a cool fighting
Little
montage.
roid rage, if you might say.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of roid rage. So I mean, I like the cast. I like the premise. Nicholas Cage, Nicholas Cage, Nicholas
Nicolas
Holt,
Cage.
Aquafina's in it. She was playing a police officer. Ben Schwartz is in it. Love him. So we already got a nice little top cast, and then the storyline itself seems pretty fun. And seeing Nicolas Cage as a vampire, he fits the vampire thing motif so well.
It reminds me of his other vampire movie too. Like that, I'm sure he's been in others, but the one that sticks out, forgetting the name of that movie too. He was in. It was a vampire movie where I think he was a human, and then am I thinking of someone else? There was one with Jim Carrey. It was one of those 80s, 70s movies. I'll look it up. But
Well,
what I like,
Adam Sandler was in Little Nicky, but I don't know about Jim Carrey or anything like that.
yeah, Jim Carrey was in a vampire like
Movie.
storyline. But I was gonna say what I liked about this movie in this trailer is that I love the what do you call the when you this AA meeting for like
So it was like
relationship.
he went for like a couple support group because he was feeling like he was in a relationship that he couldn't leave, and that his partner was being abusive, and lo and behold his partner is Dracula, and he's
Yeah,
forcing
I'm
him.
very. This movie makes me curious to see like what this is about. Oh, it's called so Nicolas Cage's movie that he was in is called Vampire's Kiss.
Wow, that sounds like it cannot miss. I need to watch that ASAP.
And then the one I'm thinking with Jim Carrey, which I remember seeing when I was younger. I enjoy that movie. It's called Once Bitten. It's a comedy horror. I like that movie. So I had those
Never heard
confused
of
because
that
they were in the 80s.
Oh, okay. I gotta check both of those out.
Yeah. Once Bitten with Jim Carrey is Amazon Prime. And the other is on is it Tubi? Tubi, I believe.
Tubi. Yep.
I just saw it.
Okay. Well, for the listeners out there, if you ever want to watch those two vampire movies,
All
let
right,
us know.
Pluto.
Oh, okay, Pluto. If
And Tubi.
and Tubi. If you want to watch those and give us your thoughts, we will be foaming at the mouth to hear them. So, moving forward, sticking with this movie, the movie train that we're on right now,
Movieverse.
the movieverse. Avatar 3. James Cameron went on, I guess, like record to say that Avatar 3 will be including a fire Na'vi tribe. So in true Avatar The Last Airbender like fashion, we're getting a fire nation. We already got the water nation in.
He's just proving that. He's just like, oh, if they do it, I'm going to do it too. That's just me hating again.
So, that I'm assuming we're going to get all the elements. You can kind of say that the original tribe that we saw, I think that they were kind of like a mix of land and air, but let's say they're air because they can fly. We got the water. Yeah, in
like
part one.
That tribe.
Yep. Okay. And then in part two, we got the water tribe. They live in the water, like all this stuff. will live on the water. And then in part 3, we're going to get the fire Na'vi. And then I can see in part 4, maybe we get a tribe that literally lives underground. And there's a bunch of subterranean, like maybe cities as well as
mole
like,
people type thing.
yes, and we'll be exposed to them. But yeah, speaking to French outlet 20 Minutes, Cameron explained that Avatar 3 will feature what he calls Ash people. That's ASH, Ash people, who will be a darker take on the Na'vi presented so far. So the next films will feature cultures different from those I have already shown, he said. The fire will be represented by the Ash people, and I want to reveal the Na'vi from another angle because at the moment I have only shown their good sides. So
it makes sense because, like, you know, if you think of, and then if you, because fire can be seen in many cultures as a light, but in many cultures, even in the Avatar Last Airbender, fire is destruction, but can be used for good. Yes. So in this version of James Cameron's movie, I'm assuming these Na'vi look at the fire as a source of destruction, this God-fearing thing where they have to be aggressive to be in their land or whatnot. So I wonder how that's going to go. So, I will have to see part 2 in order to figure that out.
So Cameron has like, and this is the cockiness that we don't like about him, right? So he almost like begrudgingly is like, oh, I know what I'm going to be doing. So he's already ready to go on the sequels, right?
Yeah, and
he literally said, this is an excerpt from his appearance on HBO Max's Who's Talking to Chris Wallace. So it was a quick little interview, and he literally said, I'm going to have to do these sequels. I know what I'm going to be doing the next 6 or 7 years. The point is we're going to be okay. So he had previously stated that, you know, how the films did was going to dictate how the sequels were going to come out, if or not they were going to come out. And with it clearing $1 billion in 14 days, it's happening.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we said this in either our last episode or the episode before. The only reason I can see this doing very well, it will never not do well, is because we've just been bombarded with superhero movies for so long.
Yeah.
So, and we were talking about like how we miss the sci-fi stuff that's not big budget, or they're big budget, but they're just offshoot sci-fi stuff, original stuff. We're getting 65 with Adam Driver. We need more of those Edge of Tomorrows. Avatar not coming every year, every 2 years is great. So when we forget about it, it's going to make its money. Still, in my opinion, and most people will agree, Avatar 1 to 2 was too long. But that's not going to happen going forward. So he's gonna make, or the movies themselves are going to make that money. So I don't see them failing. I just wish he wasn't cocky about it. That's all. That's all I ask.
Might be asking a little too much, Jay.
I don't care. He's a human just like me. We both bleed red.
We don't know that. He could bleed that purplish blue.
If he did, then he is a Na'vi himself trying to talk. He's just painting us. So he's like, okay, this is us. This is us, guys. I was just preparing for you guys. Do not come to our planet or we will. Oh.
Yes. And then moving on to our next bit, we have some Star Wars news. Jay, take it away.
Not too long of information, but Ron Howard said in an interview saying that Solo 2 is not a Lucasfilm priority, which for some people, I know one of my close friends he's saddened about it because he would have been hyped to see another solo film, because the way it ends, it does give room for more. Yeah. But then I spoke to my friend, and I think I spoke to you off air, on air, I forget. It would have been cool for them to, okay, instead of Solo 2, it does follow, spoiler alert, it follows Maul. Like, because in the end of Solo, Maul makes an appearance, a virtual appearance, and he's king of he's a gang leader. Is the underworld? I forget what the
he's in like the underworld.
yeah. And or we could have just seen more Lando because we didn't really see Lando in the originals, so it would be dope just to see Lando in a sequel, like in something that takes place after Solo. Solo could just be making appearances because, again, having another actor play these big name characters was not a good idea, and Kathleen Kennedy was aware of this. So she was like, moving forward, we're just going to be filling the holes within the Star Wars universe or expanding. But again, I'm a little saddened by it, but then I'm not like, I wasn't so upset like when we didn't get Henry Cavill back as Superman. This is just like, oh man, this would have been cool. But
yeah,
we're getting a lot of Star Wars stuff. So
I'm in the same boat. Like it would have been cool. I would have loved to see them fill in those gaps with either Maul or Lando, but I'm not crying myself to sleep over it.
Yeah.
But you know what I am crying myself to sleep over?
What? Of course.
Community, the cult classic favorite of anyone with a pulse.
Yes.
Community has begun. Well, has a production date that has been confirmed. So the Community movie, it's a long-awaited sequel for the 6th season show that originally aired on NBC, and then
you said it was after Yahoo, because I remember it was Yahoo and then it got picked up somewhere else.
So Yahoo was the end. The last season was picked up by Yahoo. So it had a tumultuous ride. It got the fate of the series was in jeopardy. I want to say 3 times.
I think since the beginning.
Yeah,
after season 1.
It was a great little show that went all the way, and it brightened all of our lives. I loved it. I think it has a lot of very good writing, a lot of very good not only stories but lessons to teach people as well. And it's just all around a great show, and it's a comedy, very cleverly written, created by Dan Harmon and produced by him and the Russo brothers. They took turns being executive producers.
They shot a lot of. They directed a lot of.
Yeah, they took turns doing writing, directing, and producing roles on most of the entire show. So, Joel McHale, the leading man in Community, he plays Jeff Winger. He was recently on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he gave the fans what they've all been asking for. And he dropped that the show will begin filming in June of this year.
Do you mean the movie will begin filming?
Did I not just say the film?
No, you said the show, but you're not wrong.
Oh my God. Yeah, the film.
You're not wrong.
So he did say that Ken Jeong will be reprising his role alongside Danny Pudi, Alison Brie, Gillian Jacobs, and Jim Rash. Yvette Nicole Brown and Donald Glover still have not yet to be confirmed as part of the cast. Really upsetting.
It is, because he did write. The show did pivot with him writing a majority of the show.
Oh yeah. So
for him to not come back,
Donald Glover, he was a tour de force as Troy, and I would love to see him come back and talk about his trip with LeVar Burton around the world. And we all know Chevy Chase is not going to be in it. If he makes even a cameo appearance, that would blow my mind. They had a very public falling out. Lots of issues between different cast members, especially Donald Glover. And Yvette Nicole Brown, she dropped the show. I'm actually not sure why. I mean, she might have just, had other opportunities. But she dropped out of the show after season 5. So she wasn't in the very last season. Donald Glover exited the show. His character was written off after 4 or 5 episodes of the 5th season.
Yeah.
And Chevy Chase was done at the end of season 4. So, it was officially announced back in September, and there's been campaigns and petitions and literal just foaming at the mouth for this movie, because as everyone knows, there's always the catchphrase, 6 seasons in a movie. So
yes.
I'm I couldn't be happier. I'm very happy that most of the cast is returning and that we got this like little nugget of information. So I'm on board for it. Everyone, just watch Community if you haven't. It's on Netflix.
If you like Rick and Morty, like
It's the same.
definitely, it's like I don't want to say the same humor, but
It's the same
it's
type of humor.
It's the same type of humor, but it's in the same spectrum.
Yeah.
Like they're different spectrums. It's in the same spectrum.
It's definitely not as heavy-handed. There's not as much cursing because remember this was made for TV. It was supposed to be like a
For local TV, yeah.
yeah, maybe not technically a sitcom, but it is like a show. But it is very introspective and it takes crazy turns. Very nerdy with a lot of different references, but it also is it teaches a lot of lessons about people and how they interact with each other in a community.
Exactly.
So I can't wait for that. Talking about a thing that just won't die in many senses of the word, The Walking Dead. Why?
Kirkman is just sitting there on a pile of billions of dollars.
The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead has three more spin-offs that are slated. So right now,
You said 3 more because there's already a bunch.
So, well, no, I guess these are the 3 that we've already that have already been spoken about, but they have release dates. So the Fear of the Walking Dead has its 8th and final season. That's this May.
Crazy.
Yeah, which is wild. I don't even know how that thing is surviving. I saw the very first episode and I was like, this is not for me. So Fear of the Walking Dead, 8 seasons. That's the final season and it's it starts May 14th. After that, we have The Walking Dead Dead City, which is a spin-off series starring Lauren Cohen as Maggie and Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan, which is like, I don't even know he was still alive on the show.
So that's okay. That makes sense because I thought they were still in the Walking Dead show. So that makes sense that there's just another show. Wow. Okay.
So this show takes place in New York City in a post-apocalyptic Manhattan. And it's set to premiere in June.
Oh, and this is new. This is coming.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Norman Reedus will star in another one called The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon.
That's the Mandalorian for Walking Dead, though.
And it's set to air later this year. The series sees Daryl in France as he starts to find his way home. And then
a lot has happened in the show.
The last one, which is like blows my freaking mind. It will. I don't think there's actually a working title for it yet, but the last one will be a spin-off series starring Andrew Lincoln as Rick Grimes and I'm gonna mess this name up so bad. Danai Gurira.
Danai, you got that right.
Danai Gurira as Michonne. So they will be continuing their love story in the spinoff, and this has replaced the Rick Grimes movie that was originally talked about. And I don't know how they managed this because Andrew Lincoln removed himself from the show with differences and stuff. So I really want to know.
And I think he was killed off in the show.
I really want to know how much money they're throwing at him for this. So
Robert Kirkman is just doing this because he got the money now.
So,
but there's another show that's out. I remember seeing the trailer. I was like, really? They're doing this? It's about kids. It's a teenage angst kids show.
Of course.
In a closed community where they go outside the wall just to do some shenanigans. So zombies exist or walkers exist, but it surrounds these kids. So it's like Saved by the Bell meets Walking Dead.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, they're just gonna be pumping out this until they just bleed it dry.
So this is, I need to just say this one sentence. So AMC president Dan McDermott said fans can expect zombies walking across the Brooklyn Bridge, beneath the Eiffel Tower, and inside the Louvre, and at dozens more exotic and iconic locations from around the country and world. Why is that like a
No
draw?
one asked for. No one asked for that.
So,
My thing is, I'm sitting here. This is the thing that me and my friends always say when we hang out. No one asked for that. Like the Wonder Twins with well, WB was still and they're merging. No one asked for the Wonder Twins. No one asked to see zombies. We know zombies exist in this fictional world. We don't need to see them in iconic places. Like it would be dope if you were telling me you trying to see zombies on the moon, you kind of got me. I would still be like, what the hell? But we don't need to see them in these iconic places.
no,
No one's asking for this.
no one.
Even if I was a diehard Walking Dead fan, no one's asking for this. I wouldn't ask for this.
Who would?
But
But
hey, it's not my money, and I have my own sandbox to play in.
but you know what people are asking for, Jay?
Tell me, because no one did. But you know what? We want it.
A second season of Wednesday on Netflix. So Wednesday, it is official. Wednesday will return. The 8-episode first season hit back on November 23rd, and it's become one of Netflix's most popular shows. This is a thing that is, I hope, has legs for a couple of seasons. The first season ends, and there's definitely open for more stories to be told.
Story.
I loved the first season. I think they nailed it, and whatever like little things I had in the beginning, the casting of
The daddy.
Luis Guzman as the dad. What is his name? I can't believe I'm forgetting it. But I didn't love at first, but when they get into his backstory and like the events that surround him within this, retelling, it kind of makes sense because he's almost like a washed up like high school guy. Like he was like the it guy back then. Gomez. That's who his name is. So he was kind of like the it guy when he went to Nevermore Academy, which is the school that Wednesday attends. But now he's kind of like, he's the dad. He became the dad bod and all that. So it kind of works. But I'm very happy that in the slew of cancellations that Netflix is actually renewing something that people want. Another thing, just because of Netflix, I need to just call them out for a moment. They canceled this cartoon. It was a Netflix original cartoon called Inside Job. Very well animated, and it's actually in a very similar style from Rick and Morty. It was a comedy cartoon series. It was actually greenlit for another season, and then in a way this month,
That's
like
annoying.
this week,
annoying.
they announced that it won't be coming back, and they greenlit it a couple months ago. I actually follow one of the artists on Instagram, and it was like, oh, I have something to announce. It's super awesome and fun. They greenlit second season, and then this week it was like, sorry to announce, but they just let us know it's not happening.
That's so unfortunate.
And it made waves. I've seen it in a couple of different places on the internet, and I'm hoping that they'll be coming back because I don't think we have enough quality animation. We are definitely.
Let me say that 'cause I know you like that other show. I forget the name of it. Bigfoot or Littlefoot? Is it called Bigfoot? Big Mouth.
Oh, Big
Big
Mouth.
Mouth?
Yeah. Big
Yeah.
Mouth on
So
Netflix.
someone posted on like about that show that got canceled, and then the next post is like, and they're still putting money towards this trash. Again, I have nothing to say about it. I just know it's not for me.
Yeah, it's
But
another one that's shock value.
It's still like because it's making money, that's the thing that you're gonna put into.
And I enjoy Big Mouth. I will admit I do have to be in a very like specific place to watch that show because it is extremely heavy-handed. But there are stories to be told, and it is very much a coming of age story. It is. It's without a doubt. It's
still tell me a coming of age story without all that shock value.
But it's shocking. It's
Give me
only
the
shocking.
shock. I
It's
don't need
only
that.
shocking because we're watching it now. But when we were those ages, like these are conversations and thoughts that were going on. So it's very real. Like not
Yeah.
everything, obviously, but they are taking some things to the next level for that shock value. But at the root of it, it is about the awkwardness and
And for
craziness
me, it's not even
of
about that. It's just
kids.
about the delivery. Like it's not even about the story for
Mm.
me. It's about the delivery of certain lines. It's just and things just happen like that to me is what throws me off. I'm sure there's a story that's being. I'm sure it's all hoity-toity and
I mean,
everything, but it's just.
it's there, and it does touch on very hard topics, like a lot of shame as a young person, a lot of like anxieties, depression. Like it touches on that, and they cartoonify it, but there is a real story there. So I like, if you're okay with those types of imagery and humor, I do suggest to watch it. But
He's talking to you guys, not me, because I'm not
yeah,
gonna watch it.
but the average person I know, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, average people don't watch it.
But things like Inside Job, animated beautifully, stories there, like it sucks to see things like that get taken away, because when
Final Space was another one
Final Space,
because of the merger.
these things have, what they don't have in shock value, they have in story. The writing is impeccable. The character arcs are great. Like you don't necessarily need shock value to have a great product. And unfortunately, notorious for having great quality things that might have a cult following and just pulling the rug out from underneath them. It's really sad. Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop. It was good for what it
Yeah,
was.
I'm just looking at this, and it's like you had such great cast too, like John DiMaggio in here, and because I've seen it around, and then until my friend posted it, and you're bringing it up, and I'm like, what's the point of me watching it now?
It sucks. It sucks to like want to fall in love with something and then now you feel like you can't.
Because
So,
I know if you watch it, they'll see the numbers, but it's like,
but I do, and that's the point of this. I do like, I urge our listeners and our viewers, watch the things that you like, spread the word. I mean, for your favorite podcast as well, but spread the word and get other people to watch them, because in the era of ratings and eyeballs, like you need to have as much as possible to keep the things that you like. It's always been like that in these mediums, but now so more than ever, because there's so much out there. We things that are quality need more fans than ever. Talking about things that are quality, man, I need, what? I need to give myself a pat on the back, because I've been a segue machine this episode.
been liking it. It's been smooth.
I've been like
Smooth like
Paul
butter.
Blart on a Segue, pulling up, drifting.
I don't know if he did that successfully, but I'm gonna let you get that. Gotta go rewatch that scene.
Speaking of things that everybody loves and watching things that you love, IGN has given The Last of Us, this HBO series coming, a 9.
5 more days.
5 more days, people. But they
Yeah.
gave it a 9. That's a huge.
Rotten Tomatoes aggregated a total of 100 certified fresh for episode 1, I believe, or because they wouldn't see the whole season. They would see only the first episode, from my understanding.
I guess, yeah, whatever premieres, right? So I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah. Gabby's going to watch it. She said, because she's only going to watch it because of Pedro Pascal. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm like, okay, whatever.
I mean, I'm
that's
sure I
just
can
me.
get Erica to watch it just because it's a zombie thriller type deal.
Okay.
Infected.
But and I don't like to assume, but I'm going to ask instead of assume. But is Erica very emotional? Is she an emotional person? She cries for anything?
Not for
So-
anything, but she definitely watches.
Oh yeah, not
things.
for anything. She's not gonna cry and like, yeah, I get it. No,
She
so
watches
Gabby-
things to cry sometimes. So,
Yeah, so-
I'm sure, like when we get to those, like the hard
Yeah,
hitting
so I'm
stuff,
not gonna say it on. I'm not gonna say it on here because for those who don't play games and will watch it, I won't spoil it. But Justin knows what I'm talking about. There's the scene there. So if you're playing the game, just so we could get through the next segments, there are points. There are these points in the game where you can stop playing, and I'm sure it was done on purpose because there's a point where a couple of weeks go by, so something happens. 2 characters are involved, and I haven't played that game for weeks when that I got to that scene. And Justin knows which one I'm talking about because I was distraught. I was emotionally drained, and every time I tried,
game, right?
I'm talking about the first game. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. Yeah. And I was like, I remember because it was on the PS4 and I never had a PS3, so it was the remastered one.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna pop in my PS4, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna play something else because I couldn't, and I had to go watch some cartoons. I had to it was too real for me. So I can imagine. I feel like the delivery of this scene needs to be on the same or exceed that emotional spectrum because I was like. So I was telling Gabby, I was like, look, you might not be able to handle the gore. She doesn't handle gore well, like in general. Like gore in general doesn't have to be body horror, just gore and then body horror. I was like, babe, you're not going to be able to handle this show because it's not because it's gory. It will be gory, but the emotional toll
it'll
not going to handle. And it's written by the people that did Chernobyl.
I can't. So, both games have very hard hitting emotional.
Oh yeah. So because this is gonna be season 1, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah, so we're first game, and if it ends the same way that the game ends, if this series is gonna end,
the normies that don't play games, they're gonna be like, oh my god,
dude, the ending is like, the ending's pretty rough too, man. Like
it is
in an emotional sense, but yeah, that like almost midway point, I guess, it's gonna rock people. But it also I can't wait to see some of the really beautiful scenes. So
like even I hope they'll recreate the zoo scene,
the giraffe. Yes, they have to, because I was there like an idiot. The first time I played it, I didn't have a PS3 either, so I played it on PS4 as well, the remastered. And I was there, and I was just like, like just staring at my.
Did you think it was like a cutscene?
What?
Did you think it was a cutscene?
No,
you just kept looking?
I was just in wonderment, and I was like, like I felt like I was extremely immersed in it. Like it did, that game does such a good job putting you in the universe that I was and I was just like,
imagine playing the remake though. Imagine the remake. I haven't played it, but the remake, just from the images, looks even better. So I'm like, what?
And the fact that, and I like when games do this. Obviously, it's not going to be that way in the series, but whenever you can stay in a moment as long as you want, I like that. Because it lets you kind of take a break from all the craziness around, and it just really lets you, it's a human moment. So
it is.
It was really nice to see that in the game. I'm sure it'll be in the.
A lot of Sony's games, God of War, Uncharted, where you get to a moment and it's like, especially if you have a big, nice TV, you get to see this vista, and it's just like, you kind of like take a deep breath in real time.
Yep.
And you're just like, you're not smelling what they're smelling, but it's like, I'm done fighting monsters. I'm done fighting bad guys. Look at all these. Look at the work that the team behind this game put into this. So I think about the world, but I think about the team that put the love into this world.
And another one that I think about with that is Arkham City. And they let you pay your respects at the site where your parents died, and you can just sit there.
Yeah, it goes into like a cinematic mode, but you just let the controller go. It will just the camera
will just do a nice like spin around. But yeah, I always like that, and I really do hope that they recreate that zoo moment. If you know, you know. Another little piece of The Last of Us news: season 2 is being rumored already, right? And they're saying that the showrunners of the show are saying that it might cover the second game. So
I would rather that, because I'm sure the girl's gonna get a growth spurt, or she's just gonna get older. Like I know sometimes HBO shows don't come year after year, like Game of Thrones, for example. It didn't come year.
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it being 3 seasons, and it being season 1 is the first game. Season 2 is like an in between of like them, you know. In between game 1 and 2, because we didn't really see
those nuances and gaps.
Yes, and then allowing her to
growing, and she's growing, exactly. So we get to see that. Yeah, I agree.
Allowing her to grow up, and then season 3 covering the second game, because by that point she should be pretty similar to what Ellie looks like in the second game.
Yeah. And that leads us into
Now that leads us into the video games, and we're gonna stick with The Last of Us. And Last of Us creator Neil Druckmann says that there is, in fact, more story to tell. So he says that there is enough for a third game. So speaking to the Hollywood Reporter, Druckmann couldn't reveal if part 3 is actually in the works, but he did say, I think there's more story to tell.
I agree. Like, if the game ended the way it did in part 2, I would be fine with it, but there's still like it's not like there's loose ends. There's more to say. Not to speculate, because I don't know what to speculate. And I just hope a lot of people don't hate on the next game when that game comes out, because one of the reasons why they didn't like the second game was because we had a female character, and not Ellie, talking about the other one, which we get to see her human side and why she did things.
And I loved that. I thought that was the absolute best way to tell that story.
That's her for the longest time, more than Ellie. I was like, because Ellie was a cheat code, because you had the switchblade, and I was free to do whatever because it never broke. And then when you got to use the other, you had to make makeshift blades. I was like, back to this again.
It tells you two sides of the coin, and it really brings that story that started in the first game. It brings it together. Yes, so back in, just as one more note before we move on and wrap up, Druckmann actually said back in April that the co-writer Haley Gross actually wrote an outline for the story already of the third game. So it's not being made yet, but she hopes that one day he see the light of it. Oh no, this is Druckmann. So he said, we're not making it, but I hope one day I can see the light. It can see the light of day.
Okay. Yeah. So, we just sit here and hope.
Yeah. I mean, and even if they gave that to us in the series, in the HBO series, I wouldn't even mind.
I would rather it just be its own thing at that point, because then at this point it is an adaptation. So I would, because like, let's say the show does its own thing, that gives me more hype for the game, because it's like, this is where they went with the game. I mean, with the show, what did they do with the game? Mm-hmm. And many people are going to always stick to the game because that's actual canon. It doesn't matter what's canon or not. Whatever story is being told is, as long as you tell it well, I'm all for it. And I'm with that. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, man. So with that, I have one more piece of news for video games, and I actually found this pretty cool. Earlier this week at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES 2023, PlayStation Blog released, PlayStation Blog kind of covered the story, but PlayStation itself released a new accessibility controller. It's called Project Leonardo. Now, for some frame of reference, this controller kind of looks like the old game Simon, where you had like the 4 colors and all that. But this controller kit is actually designed to help players with disabilities, help them to play more easily, comfortably for longer periods of time. It's a fully modular controller that the buyer would get, and it's a fully modular round controller with a control stick, with like a joystick, and you can move the buttons around to fit exactly how you want it, creating your own controller. So I thought this was really cool. We typically don't cover hardware like this, but I thought this was just a really
I'm happy that they did this, especially for this generation, because I believe last generation Xbox did that.
Yes.
For theirs. I don't know if it's still, I'm sure it's still compatible with their new, what is it? Is Xbox 3, what is it? Not 360, it's Xbox One. What is it called now? Series X.
Yeah.
Xbox One had the hardware, but I'm wondering if it's compatible for the latest generation. So I'm happy now both systems have something like this. And that's pretty dope. I like that. And when I saw this, I was like, that's really dope that they're doing this, and we have the opportunity to do this in this point in time.
And all these buttons are like, you can map it however you want. There's a bunch of different configurations, and they work with connecting to all different PS5 controllers, and you can actually connect to other third-party devices. They have aux ports on the sides. So this is a pretty big achievement for Sony. I'm happy that they're doing this. It's still in active development, so there's no price or release window yet, but it's a big leap forward to help all gamers have accessibility. So power to the player.
100%.
So with that, we are done with all of our news topics, and we're gonna roll into the weekly wrap.
The weekly wrap.
Wrap.
Sound like Elmer Fudd.
The weekly wrap.
Silly wabbit.
Jay,
what am I reading? So I did say I was going to read that book called Saturn Effect, but I realized I have the middle part of, because he has like an anthology. So I was like, I got to go read the beginning of it, because there's called Saturn Effect Ajax. Then what I have is Saturn Effect Alpha, and then the one that comes after is Saturn Effect. I forget. It started with an M, and I was like, So instead of reading that, I was finishing a comic that I read called King of Spies, which is pretty dope. It's by the main character. It's about a spy. He's a British spy, British intelligence. It starts out with him in the story. You see him in the past. He's like doing his James Bond thingy, and then we cut to present day. He's an older man, and then we find out that he has a tumor and he has like 6 months to live. So he's like, wow, like all the things that I've done, like I feel like I could do better. And he's like, you know what? If I'm going down, I'm taking all the baddies with me, bro. That's literally what he does. And I'm on issue 4 right now, and so obviously this is all fiction. So like there are people that he kills off. So like in the story, who does he kill off? Because these characters are reminiscent of people in real life. Mm-hmm. Obviously fiction. One that stuck out to me is like, you hear the president speaking, and it's not any president in our time. It's Reagan. The design looks like Reagan. And you see this, so his name is Roland King. So he's in there and he's like, really? He's just killing all these people? Didn't he? Because he's aware of spies as well. He's like, doesn't that guy have 6 months to live? He's like, there's no way he's going to be up here. And then he comes in, puts the gun on his head, kills him, and then blows up the plane. And he kills off not the current Pope, the Pope before him, who just passed away recently.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Benedict? Benedict. I forget his I always remember him, but Benedict was the Pope name. But the reason being, and this was true, because he stayed silent because of all the allegations with the priests. And this is real life. So in the book, what he does, he didn't kill him. He basically drugs him, brings him out like miles away from Rome into a forest. And he's like, I'm not doing anything to you. They're going to do it. And then you see a whole bunch of people that had children their children were molested by priests. Wow. He's like, hey, I might not do anything, but they might. But the whole point of this is in the Catholic religion, there might be forgiveness. And then we cut to like the next scene where he is like crucified and like dead. God. Yeah, like it's very gory, but it's like one thing I like about this book is basically saying like, it's kind of like, I can imagine the writer's hand. He's like, if things kind of answering the question, what would you do if you had 6 months to live and you had this special skill? So if you're a Liam Neeson and you had like 3 months left, what would you do? One last thing I want to drop to is there was a Harvey Weinstein character, but didn't have dark hair. He had blonde hair. He was an ugly fat guy. And then they're in the bathroom. And I love the guy's captions because he's talking to himself. So he's just like, he tells the guy, he's like, oh, I love all your movies. He's like, but I don't like all the allegations and the sexual things you've done to these women. And then the caption is like, oh, people are talking about his killings. And they're talking about like the way he killed Harvey Weinstein. And it's so sci-fi because this is the sci-fi. This is one sci-fi thing. I'm not telling all this, but this is the one where he's like, oh, you ingest this micro bomb, basically. He ingests, so he's at the urinal. So he's standing next to him. He pees into the urinal. I don't know how, but the probe, whatever, goes into the pipes or whatever and comes out and into Harvey Weinstein's pee. So it goes into his body. But the way it's drawn out, so the way the panel is drawn, it shows you the two characters side by side.
Uh-huh.
You see the urinal, so it's all black, and then you just see an arrow just pointing through the urinal, and then you just see the probe. So it's telling you the direction it's going. So you would ingest it, the probe goes through you, you pee it out, goes in and goes into Harvey Weinstein. So then the main character just leaves the restaurant because the security guy's like, "Yo, get him out of here," because he's basically called him out on his allegations. After like a couple feet away from the restaurant, he just blows it up. So he blows up Harvey Weinstein. Which is ironic.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So this story is dope so far. I was told by the artist that I'm working with, Constantine, to read this because he said he likes it. And he knows the artist as well who did the work. So I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna check it out. So that's a dope read in itself. And what else? I don't think I'm reading anything else right now. Watching. You're gonna be happy because I'm better than you at watching stuff. I watched Tick Tick Boom.
Oh, finally.
Oh, finally. I watched Tick Tick Boom. I watched The Menu. I watched Violent Nights.
Wow.
Watched Bad Batch. That came out.
Yes, I know.
Days ago. But I couldn't say all the things I watched. But Tick Tick Boom was great. I can see the similarities between a lot of artists. But I saw myself like having to like choose and live the life of rags. Just you sacrifice everything just for the art. Then you see how it comes to the end. He didn't get that paycheck. And I knew that was gonna happen, and I didn't know his story like that. But that makes me want to go see like Rent and all that stuff.
Oh, great, great musical. It's on either Netflix or HBO.
I'm sure it is. So I want to go see that. The Menu was good. I was telling Andrea about it. She said she really, really liked it. I'm like, I thought it was really good. Like the ride, just going through the entire movie, the way it ended. I was like, of course, because not to spoil. I'm not going to spoil the movie if you wanted to see it, but I think you'd enjoy it. I really liked the movie. It had a commentary on the rich people and the poor people. We get it. It's just funny through and through.
That's one I might watch with Erica.
No, yeah, she can handle gore, it's on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was good. But what I wanted to stick to actually is, Bad Batch is great. There's nothing, it can do no wrong. But Violent Night, bro, great, perfect Christmas movie. This might be the one that I watch every year.
Really?
Yeah, like I said it for the other movie. Yeah. What was it? What movie did I say it for? Wow, I totally forgot about it.
It wasn't like I feel like Die Hard was in the discussion.
Yeah, Die Hard was in the discussion, but it wasn't.
But it wasn't that.
I could, whatever movie I thought I was gonna watch, I was probably still watch it. But Violent Night is one I'll watch every year because it does Home Alone, Die Hard, and there was another movie that I thought of, but it does it all well. The violence is there. Like it's in your face. Like the blood doesn't even look like syrup. It looks it's like thick. Like whenever you see like blood action or whatever. Why am I forgetting the actor's name?
The guy from Stranger Things. Hopper. Daniel.
Hellboy. Anyway. Yeah. He did great. He was a perfect Santa. Like a Santa that's like, yo, forget all this. You people are too greedy. He was like, this is going to be his last Christmas. And then we see why it doesn't become his last Christmas. It keeps the spirit of Christmas involved in this movie. Like, it's about believing. And that's, what's his name?
David Harbour.
Thank you. So it's like, everything was perfect. The little girl, she just saw Home Alone for the first time, and she's like, "It's so great, blah blah blah." She does the Home Alone, not the Home Alone things. She doesn't do Home Alone things from the movie. She does Home Alone things in her own right. Yeah, but they actually do damage. And I was like, "Wow!" Like, I'm gonna just spoil one graphic scene where she's in the attic, and she sets up traps, but like the bad guys found her. Mm-hmm. So she has a nail there, and then the guy goes up to it, and he's just like, the whole point of doing traps is so we don't see them. But he didn't see that the other step, there was a step below that was already sawed. So he didn't see that. So he climbs, and he takes the step and falls, and the nail just goes up his mouth. He's still alive through this, so he's seeing this, and I'm like, so he gets out of it, and the other girl, there was like another minion that goes up and whatever, and there's bowling balls involved, but behind them there's a nails on the floor. So the bowling ball hits him in the head, and he falls on his butt.
Okay.
And it just and he's screaming in pain, like guttural. But yeah, that movie was great. I love that. I'm forgetting the villain's name. Luigi. I'm gonna call him Luigi. The original Luigi from Mario Bros.
Oh, John Leguizamo.
Thank you. He gave everyone Christmas code names, and everyone's like, "Do I have to really have to?" And then they're like, "Yeah, you got to, because that's the whole point." But I love that it acts in the way. If you remember in Die Hard, where he had to write all the bad guys' names down in his wrist.
Yeah.
So for Santa Claus, he has the naughty and nice list, so he's just looking at it. He's like, "Oh, these are like that." Was a nice call to that. So I was like, "That was really dope." That movie I had fun watching. Like, you got to see it. I watched it online illegally, of course, because I rented it and missed my opportunity to watch it. Because when you rent it, you have like 48 hours.
Is it not on Netflix?
It's not on anything. I rented it through Amazon. Oh. Didn't get the chance to watch it. When I wanted to watch it, I was like, I'm not going to pay again. So I just went online and watched it. Okay. Great quality, by the way. But anyway.
Okay. I thought it was on Netflix for some reason, but alrighty. Is that it? Anything you're playing?
God of War. Yeah. Played it today. I'm not going to say anymore.
Same. So, the only thing I'm playing is God of War, so I'll get that out of the way. And I wonder where we're at if I've passed you.
You probably did. I haven't been playing in a while until today.
I haven't played until,
and I didn't get that far.
I haven't played it.
Well, are you in? Okay, I'll say this: are you in Midgard?
Yeah. No. No, I'm not in Midgard.
Did you have to go back to Midgard? That's yes. All I'm gonna ask.
I went back to Midgard, then I went somewhere else, and then I
went. Are you there? Are you still there?
Oh. I went from Midgard to somewhere else.
To that other place.
And then after there, I went somewhere else, and then I came back to, I guess, Midgard again. But I'm a whole different team. Like,
okay. No, I think I know them already. So we're probably at the same spot then.
Okay.
Are you using the dad?
I'm Kratos right now.
Okay, yeah. So
and it's after I've done.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually just picked it up again today. I haven't played in the last couple of days, and I played for maybe like half hour today. I played a little bit yesterday too, actually, but so that's what I'm playing. Watching, I've been making my way through Community, so that's a thing. Yes. I'm trying to think, what else have I been watching? So yesterday, actually, let me rewind a little bit. So last couple weeks, I've actually been on this really big kick of trying to catch Jeopardy every night.
Okay.
So I don't know. I like it. It's very fun. I always enjoyed Classic Jeopardy with Alex Trebek. I'm very happy that it's still going on and it still has the Jeopardy magic. I love trivia and it's fun for me when I can answer questions. Wasn't yesterday. It was sometime last week, I guess. Or no, was it? It might have been yesterday. I was answering a bunch of them and I felt really good about myself. But so that's
just take on the world.
Yeah, that's like a thing I've been trying to do and it's fun. Another thing is me and Erica started the Netflix series, The Movies That Made Us. So they're, 45-minute documentaries about different movies. They also have The Toys That Made Us. So it's 4 seasons, I think. and they cover a bunch of movies from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. We started in season 1. There's only 4 episodes, but we started with movies that she's watched too.
Hmm.
So we did the Dirty Dancing one, which was really
Yeah.
fun. And then we watched yesterday we watched the one about Forrest Gump, and it tells you each one. First off, the opening is really cool. The opening is a very much like, it harkens back to like educational movies that you would have watched in school,
Hmm.
but it's like it's like the opening, and it's like you're seeing like things turn on and like the wheels spinning off of the projectors, and it's very
Mm.
stylized and it's super cool. And then it opens
Yeah.
up and it's like, it's the movie that they're gonna talk about. So it was Forrest Gump, and they bring you through the entire thing of how the movie got made. So with this one, they spoke about, the book that was written in the beginning, and how the book was a pretty bad book, but this producer fell in love with the book. Then a script got written. The script was really bad, so it sat in a box for a couple of years until someone pulled it out, fell in love with it, greenlit it, and then a bunch of revisions had to get made. And then they tell you about all the struggles that it had, and how, you never would think something that's such a powerhouse like Forrest Gump, directed
Especially with
by
Tom Hanks.
with Tom Hanks and directed by Robert Zemeckis. He had
Yeah.
already done huge movies. Like,
Yeah.
they had such a shoestring. Well, it wasn't. I mean, I guess by today's standards, they had like a $55 million budget. Back then,
Mm.
it was pretty normal. That was like mainline
That was the norm. Yeah.
with big movies. But they got their budget cut so much that Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks actually helped finance the movie. They took huge salary cuts and just had their salaries converted to like shares in the movie.
Hmm.
Not all of their salary, but a decent amount, so that they kept the lights on. And then at some points, they actually financed it with their own money to get it done, because there was so much pushback from the studios. And it's fun. I enjoy the insider stuff like that. It's like, it's very,
Yeah.
insider baseball. So it's like they really, they have all these different interviews with producers, writers, and even like some of the show execs, like not show execs, the studio execs are being interviewed and stuff like that, and it really paints this great picture. And all of these movies, they have cameras rolling constantly because they're trying to document all the things that are happening behind the scenes. So there's a lot of footage in there. The Dirty Dancing one was cool. Forrest Gump one was so good. Once we finished, I turned on Forrest Gump.
Mm.
Forrest Gump for me is a fantastic movie. It really, like, it means a lot to me on a very personal level.
Hmm.
It was a movie that my grandfather like always talked about. He really liked that movie. I was shown that movie at a very young age, and I fell in love with it. And I actually hadn't seen it in a while. So last night I was just like, you know what? We saw this thing. I was like,
Yeah, let's just watch it.
I have to watch this movie now. And man, like, it like really hits you. Like,
Yeah.
like
It's great that you did that too, because it reminds me of like when you watch a movie and you watch a commentary,
yeah.
you got to watch the commentary after because you can't watch it first because you want to watch the movie. And you basically did that. And you got the insider of everything.
And it was just so like the cool part was when the movie started and it has the intro credits. I was like, oh, I know who that is. I know who that is. Like, I know
Yeah,
what they
right.
did. Like,
Exactly.
it was fun. And then to just see this masterpiece and to see all they did with so little, um,
Hmm.
to make this movie happen, it was beyond what I could even imagine. Like, something like when they edited out Lieutenant Dan's legs. That had never been done in that way in a movie. So they were the first ones to actually create the technology to wrap his legs in like this blue screen material and edit it
Hmm.
out in such a good way. Same thing with the presidents and other famous people that he meets.
Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
they mapped those textures to actors like that actually portrayed the scene. So it was like groundbreaking. And obviously, like, studios didn't want him to do that. Studios didn't want them to shell out money to show him running across America. They didn't want to show a bunch of different things, but they kept it in, and they believed in their project. They got it made, and it blew everything out of the water. It ended up making like $500 million when it released in theaters, and it was a
Unbelievable.
massive, massive deal. So, yeah, and just watching it again and all the heartfeltness and the emotion put into that movie, and like it's such a nice roller coaster because it'll make me smile, and then like I teared up a couple of times, and then like it makes you feel like it's a very human movie.
And that's the thing. It's funny you say that because it's like having watched Tick Tick Boom and him talking about corporates just trying to shell out money just for the bottom line is like, is this going to make much? Like you talking about that is just them trying to stop a movie that's like, this is not going to make money. This is not going to make money. And then you see that this real thing does make money because that there is money in that. And look, money is the thing that moves the world around, but you can't keep going into the machine and keep going for nostalgia when you can just do something original. And that was original for its time.
I I like to say that passion is the thing that shows through. Like when passion comes through, it's magic, right? And when we see it in movies, that's what we call movie magic. It's the
Yeah.
passion that people have for projects,
Yeah.
and the passion of a few individuals that gets the project made, right? They had no friends on the studio side except for one woman who
Hmm.
was actually like ignoring her bosses and helping them film things in secret so that the movie could be done the way that Robert Zemeckis wanted it done. The original producer that picked the book up, like I think it took them 9 years to actually start filming from the time that she um, first found the book and had the
The book
script.
or the script?
No, the book. So
The
she
book.
found the
Okay, got it.
book and then teamed up with a script writer to make
Got
the
it.
script, and then it sat in a box for 9 years before they
Or
took
not.
it back out.
Got it. Got it.
So she stood with that thing forever. Like she was the one. She picked out this weird ass book that wasn't well written and saw like something that people could attach themselves
Yeah.
to.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people will look at a book and be like, "Oh, it's not written well." What it's trying to say, that's what's selling.
And it's just it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm like it really ignited like some passion in me yesterday watching that movie, and I was just like, oh, like it's such a great story. These are the things that bring us to the movie theaters, and I wish we had more. I wish there was an ability to have these things again. So these ragtag teams that do what they can to make it happen. And by no means was Tom Hanks and Rob Zemeckis at this time like nobodies.
Yeah, there were.
They were really like big, and they helped drive home this movie. But have this team of people really rally behind something and get it done. It's such a beautiful story, and the movie itself is just a testament to that. It's all the passion in the world. It's an everyman, and the fun thing that I found out is he actually wasn't supposed to be. So the character of Forrest Gump wasn't actually supposed to be like a um he's not handicapped or anything. He's just like
Like
below average intelligence. That's what it is.
it wasn't autistic
No, he's not autistic or anything. He's literally, and they say it in the movie too. He just is below average intelligence. He's
because
slow.
like the spectrum is
So
okay.
he's just really
Yeah,
slow.
I remember the line. I just thought that's what that was. I guess that's just changes my view of that. I thought he was because you can function differently within that spectrum. So I didn't
No,
think.
yeah, he's just they and
Mm,
they said it there that he's just slow. Like his
mhm.
intellect is not where it should be, and that was a choice made after months of like filming and stuff because Tom Hanks didn't have an accent. He didn't want to do a southern accent. And the only reason he ended up talking like that was because the kid who played young Forrest had
Mm,
kind of like that twang, that like little, the way of talking.
yeah.
And Tom heard it and was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to apply that exact way of speaking that a kid would speak to a grown man. And then they shaped the character like that. So he kept the same way that he pronounced things and was talking, and the little twang that he had. And it just kind of formed into this character that we know as Forrest Gump.
Mm.
So it's funny and like cool to for me at least to learn these things. It made me enjoy the movie that much more. And it's if you haven't seen Forrest Gump in a while, I urge you please go watch it. It's on Netflix, and literally right after that, Grease is back streaming. It's on Netflix, and I watched
I'll put it
Grease.
back.
I watched Grease right after that, and can't get anything better than Grease Lightning. You know, a wop bop a loo bop a wop bam boom. So
You guys heard it here first. Get it. Get on it.
so that was me. That's me wrapped up in a nutshell, and I think we can end it there.
Yeah, you
Um,
didn't read anything, right?
no, I did not. So
Definitely next time read the antagonist so we can talk about it.
so yes, I will read the antagonist. But that's it for today. As always, you can join us here live on twitch.tv/theaveragejays. After the show, we usually stay on, interact with the audience, tackle a certain topic, and that's J&J After Dark when we are unfiltered and live and in person. So beyond that, you can always follow us on Twitter at The Average Jays and Instagram at The Average Jays Podcast. And like I said at the top of the show, we always stream live on twitch.tv/The Average Jays on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, we do.
We always love you and can't wait to talk to you more.